till shade is gone,
till water is gone,
into the shadow with teeth bared,
screaming defiance with the last breath,
to spit in Sightblinder's eye on the last day.
by my honor and the light.
My life will be a dagger for Sightblinder's heart.
Until the last day. To Shyle Ghoul itself.
This is A Dagger for Sightblinder, a podcast focused on all things Wheel of Time, with your hosts,
Sarah Lucas
and Adam Tricola.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Dagger for Sightblinder. May you find shade this day. Adam, how are you?
I know pretty well. I think I found some shade already today, so
Your own shade. I'm not sharing.
It's already a good day. Well, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to be hospitable, but I already have my own, so we're good. We're good.
Right. Awesome.
I wouldn't have counted on you being hospitable anyways.
Rude.
Of you not being hospitable, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is our second official episode. Are you excited?
It is. Yeah, as excited as is warranted, which means nothing actually. I am excited though. This is fun, and we have a ton of progress that we've made on a lot of stuff, and by we I mean mostly you and all of the various forces that you've marshaled to help. So we have a Discord server now, folks. So in the show notes you can find a link to that, and we'll have more awesome changes to that. Actually, we're setting up a whole spoiler thing, and by we I mean Sarah and her various forces that she's marshaled to help. and yeah, it's been really there's a lot of really cool stuff coming, but there's also, guys, one thing I do want to point out is we are helped an inordinate amount, or a disproportionate amount I should say, early on, if people are doing things like going onto Podbean, specifically to that website, and like just start. All you have to have is like a Google. All you have to have is a Google email address, and you already have an account with Podbean essentially. So you just sign in through Gmail, through your Google, and then all you have to do, if you hit the follow button on our site, on this podcast, that will help us a ton, because we kind of want to get to the point where we're visible. If someone searches Wheel of Time, we want our thumbnail and everything to show up there. So that like right now is when we benefit most from it, because once we get up to like 40-ish followers, we'll be right in the mix with all the other top-ish podcasts for Wheel of Time, and then we'll just get more visibility, which is super nice.
Yeah, and actually you don't even need to make an account. You can just follow. If you want to be extra lazy, you get a random generated username, so we won't know who you are, but it still counts.
Oh, that's fancy. Yeah, I've seen those random word.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just people that haven't created an account.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So you can do that if you want to have notifications when we get news, or when we get a new episode out and everything. If you head down to the Discord server, which for those of you who don't know what a Discord server is, I realize that in the game that Sarah and I are like coming from, Discord is a very common occurrence. Discord is just it's essentially just a big chat room. It's a way to, it's kind of like going to be our landing pad for where people come to hang out and discuss the books, discuss the show and everything. But and we'll have more of this in the future, but we're already setting it up so that if you join that Discord server and you click, all you have to do is just click like a reaction button. You just click the one button on the rules and info button, or channel. All you have to do, you hit one, and then you'll get notifications in Discord whenever there's a new podcast out. So you can do that. Come join Discord. Come join us on Podbean, and then eventually we might be going live and stuff. We'll give you more news about that. That'll be that'll be fantastic
Hmm.
to, yeah, that'll be really cool. So then we can get more people involved there, and we need follows and all that, I'm sure. So I guess the one other thing that I'll ask for, guys, is if you can give us reviews. And I don't know if we're quite on iTunes yet. Maybe by the time this is released, we'll be on. But giving us reviews early on, a 5-star review, goes a long way toward visibility as well on iTunes and on any other podcast site that you might find us on. So even if it's just like, I liked it, 5 stars, that's going to help us a huge amount, a disproportionate amount for the success of this channel.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we're on there by the time this comes out. I've nudged them.
I thought that was funny, actually. You were like, they're not responding, and
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of waiting.
I don't want to wait.
I know.
So yeah. Hopefully we'll be there. I know we're on Spotify already, so we're on Google Podcasts too, by the way. So we're slowly, making our way out there.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed when I was searching, there are a few other podcasts that are starting up as well. People also trying to take advantage, and we need to elbow them aside and take primacy in number of views and stuff. So just give us a chance, guys. Give us the opportunity for everyone to see us. We would appreciate it. So that being said, maybe I don't know. So what are some of the things you want to talk about today, Sarah? What are some awesome highlights?
So I think we need to touch on the teaser trailers for the show a little bit, and just if you've noticed, you're gonna know more about this than me, obviously. If you've noticed anything that's different, anything that's quote unquote controversial, I would love to know, even if it's a spoiler for myself, that's fine. And yeah, in the next part of the books of In the Eye of the World that I want to touch on, we will be arriving at Shadar Logoth. So yeah,
Heck yeah.
I realize I say this every episode. This part of the book really hooked me. I think I've been hooked about 5 times by now.
Yeah.
So I have lots of thoughts. We can get into it later on.
Good. I think, yeah, there's a lot going on, obviously, in this section. I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah, I think there is absolutely one part of there's one of the teaser trailers that I hadn't seen, and it didn't actually have a ton of views, but there's definitely something as a fan. They mentioned that the dragon reborn could be they don't know if it's going to be a male or a female, so we're going to talk about what the deal is with that. We're going to talk about I want to talk about the dagger and stuff in Shadar Logoth. This should be an interesting part. And yeah, it's fun. Things are starting to spice up a little bit. We finally see the first real fighting in Wheel of Time in this segment of the book discussion.
Yeah. So it should be good. I'm excited. You want to get into it?
If we have to.
I mean, we don't have to, but we probably should.
Sounds fair. Let's do it.
Okay. Do you want to start with the teaser trailer and this whole Dragon Reborn thing? Because I don't know this. Like, I am obtuse to this still in the books.
Yeah. So, and that makes sense. Here's the controversy, folks. It's like, I think it's labeled as the first minute of the show. And my guess is that they're going to show the first minute of the show, but probably not with the voiceover. Is my guess. But the voiceover that they had was Moraine saying that she's talking about her mission, and she's trying to find the dragon reborn, which is, as everyone will find out probably pretty early on, that's kind of the most important thing in the whole world, in the entire Wheel of Time. Like, that's going to be the focus for everyone. Like, everyone knows who the dragon is. They might be afraid, might be excited, whatever. Everyone has an opinion on the dragon reborn. And so what she said, though, was, we don't know who they are, if the dragon is a male or female. And everything else seemed pretty cool. I was excited about the rest of it, but that one line sticks out to me, just because it's talking about they don't know the gender of the dragon reborn. And I just hope they don't do something stupid. Like, I'm not going to get into the whole woke culture, or the like gender whatever right now, but what I will say is, in the books, it was always very obvious that the dragon is going to be male.
Right.
And I won't even say who the dragon is going to be. That could be seen as a spoiler, but always, it's not up to debate. The dragon is always male. And
Right.
so them saying female, it bends things to the point of, I don't know what to expect from these Aes Sedai, from any of this. Like, are the Aes Sedai just that ignorant? Did they lose that knowledge? Are they just saying that just to kind of add to the suspense for the new viewers who don't know anything about it? Because my guess is that the veterans of the community are a little bit nervous about that.
So from my point of view, I have guessed who I think the dragon is based off, where I am in the books. And it was always very obvious to me that that's who it would be. So I didn't really focus too much on the fact that he's male. But that being said, looking at it from a completely like top down kind of view, or whatever you want to call it, if you have, and I actually don't know if this is related or not, so tell me if I'm wrong, but if you have the Aes Sedai, who are now the only ones who can touch this power and use it, because the men go crazy who have, because it's tainted, doesn't it make sense that it would be a man? Like, doesn't it make sense that it would be a man that would take that role? Because obviously you have women who have been able to do it this whole time, and it hasn't been any of them. So wouldn't that just like be the logical deduction?
Well, so in the books, it's prophecy, and there's historical precedent as well, because there's been other dragons in the past that always been male. And I guess, honestly, I think that if the Aes Sedai could delude themselves into thinking that the dragon might be female, that there'd probably be a lot of relief in the White Tower, because of the way they see male channelers. People who are men who are channeling are just seen as dangerous, and you'll see that reflected as the dragon does show himself in the book. He eventually does make a lot of people nervous, and there's debate about, should we just gentle him? Should we just lock him up and not? Maybe he's required for the last battle, but we shouldn't like just let him loose until then. Because they don't trust the male half of the source, which is understandable.
Right. I'm a little bit curious if they're adding that line just to kind of create a more what's the word I'm looking for? Like a more intense kind of search for the dragon reborn in the show specifically. Like, they're trying to build the suspense and build this dynamic, and if you say it can be a male or a female, it creates this like chaos, because it can literally be anyone, versus if you say that it's just a male. And obviously that would be very much directed at people who are watching the show who have never read the books, right?
Well, yeah, you have to think. So the people who've read the books, there's a lot of people who've read them, but my guess is that they're not as concerned about them. Honestly, I think, and here's like just the brutal truth. They don't care what I think of it, really, as long as I don't just loathe it to the point of just screaming at the top of my lungs that no one should watch it. But even then, that might actually be helpful for them. They care about the people who like to watch the show. Like there's going to end up being millions of people who watch the show as opposed to thousands of people who have read the book series.
Right.
So they don't necessarily care about that. And if they want to break the continuity, if there's a thing that they feel like they need to do to help get more views from these people who just want a good story, I don't think that they're going to really balk at that, even if it kind of estranges the book fans. I think that there's just too much money to be made, frankly. After you see Game of Thrones and how much money it made, and that's what they want to emulate, that they'll do what they need to do.
Right.
Hopefully, I think that they're going to actually care about what the veteran with the book, like the fan, the guy making the show is a fan himself, so they're probably not going to stray too far. But yeah, like I think that it's very plausible that they're just trying to get hype and just say, hey, look, like it could, women are powerful here, but the women might be the dragon too. Like we're not going to put any emphasis, we're not going to just say, oh, it's the most powerful and important person has to be a man. Like that might turn off certain segments of our society at this point. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think that's a good point. They probably are just targeting the viewers, the new viewers, the non-book readers.
That's what I would think. They're just trying to hook that, and then
because
I would assume that they are assuming book readers will probably watch the show.
You have good insights.
Thank you. Try.
You're welcome.
Was there anything else in the teaser that you noticed that you wanted to touch on, or teasers, I should say?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There was a scene. There's one with Nynaeve, and she's like hiding in a pool, and she fights a Trolloc.
Yeah.
And that's not in the books, and it doesn't need to be.
Right.
Really.
Okay.
But it's just an interesting side of Nynaeve. Like I really hope that they make her a really strong, fun character. And we've talked about it already how I've had mixed feelings about Nynaeve in the past, and even now I tend to be more sympathetic toward her at this point in my life. But it looks to me like they're going to end up making her really cool.
Yeah. That was definitely a scene that stood out to me. Like, even not knowing that scene's not in the book, it was pretty cool. Like, I thought how they shot it was pretty cool, how they showed it being shot. And it definitely builds, again, like that intensity. But it also, to me, felt a little bit out of character for her. But maybe that's because I don't know her well enough yet. So maybe I'm wrong.
I guess so like killing a Trolloc or stabbing a Trolloc with a blade or whatever, like not necessarily something she does often. Right. in the like, I think it's fitting in her character, as I understand it, just in the sense that she'll do what she has to do. Like, she's not just going to die because she's weak. She's going to say, all right, the only way to survive is to take the Trolloc's weapon and kill it. But then that has to happen, and that's what I'm going to do. Right. So I think seeing, and that's kind of a fun contrast too of it. So watching someone who is skilled at the thing that they're really skilled at is fun, of course. Like seeing them just destroy, just pwn noobs or whatever, it's cool. But really giving them adversity and putting them in a situation where they're not entirely comfortable, and seeing their just like that inner resolve, that fight come out, and their just fierceness, just that raw at like, what are they going to do? That in
Mhm.
some ways that's more fun to me, to see a character just say, no, I'm not going to be contained to the one thing that everyone thinks I'm good at. I'm going to just thrive regardless.
Right. No, that makes sense. Um, I think it's gonna be interesting either way.
Yeah, I think it will be. I'm excited to see. I'm just excited to see, well, basically everything. That's all.
That sounds right. I wanted to point out the thing that I noticed in this last
Mhm.
trailer that or teaser, whatever the difference is. Um,
Teaser trailer.
Teaser
Boom.
trailer.
Nailed it.
Uh I and I don't know if I noticed this because you and I have had this discussion about Rand and Egwene, but
Hmm.
the relationship that they portray in the teaser trailer seems much more
Ooh.
developed, I want
Hmm.
to say, versus what is shown in the books or what's portrayed in the books.
Yes.
Like
Great observation.
it just seems much more like your typical, oh yeah, we're, dating and I, apparently love this person and I'm going to marry them eventually. And like they're acting that way. And you and I have said this, they don't act that way in the book.
Yeah, in the book, they're kind of trying to figure out what their thing, like they're kind of just i- intended for each other, and
Right.
they're trying to, like, they care for each other, they've developed feelings, but they don't know how that fits in with how they're going to interact in the future.
Right. And
So yeah,
I
that's
feel
good.
like that might be a liberty that they just took for the show for the sake of, you know, not having an awkward relationship on screen. Because I know, like, if I was watching that, I'd be like, this is weird. Like that, and it would
Mhm.
distract me from what was actually going on in the bigger picture.
Right. So
Unless
I
this is a plot device down the road.
No, so I think what your observations have actually been very on point. Like, I do think so. So first off, they're making the characters older, right? Like one of the teaser
Mhm.
trailers was saying they're already over 18, and I don't think maybe they were that old when in the books, but I feel like they're a little younger in the books than they're portrayed in the trailers.
They reference themselves as teenagers in the books.
Right. And then in the teaser trailers, were they saying like they're gonna be 20 or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, so like they all look older, whether or not they are. I think that the other thing though is, and I just don't know how. So one of the big appeals to Game of Thrones, for instance, is frankly like the sex, like all of the
Right.
gratuitous nudity, all of that stuff. And you have to think that I don't know what Wheel of Time is going to do. It in later parts of the book, there is a lot more of that stuff. It's way less explicit. It's very much implied though. They don't ignore relationships. They don't get as nearly as graphic as Game of Thrones does, novel wise.
Hmm.
But it is there, and people are walking around naked. They'd openly discuss all this stuff, and I've been very curious from the very start if they're going to go that direction. Like, are they going to go Game of Thrones direction? And if they do, the first few books don't have a lot of that, and so kind of advancing Rand's relationship with Egwene would make sense in the context of that greater discussion.
Okay. Yeah, I can follow that. So that does make sense. It was just weird.
Right. Well, yeah, like they're holding hands. They don't really hold
Yeah.
hands in the book, and I like that though. Actually, it builds more for me because I just think it's awkward. They just don't know. There's like multiple days in a row. Like, there's how many people are in their group? They're like 8 people in their group or something, and there's multiple days that Rand and Egwene don't even talk to each other.
Right.
Like, they don't know what they're doing. And whereas that might be a more natural situation, especially for their ages and their their social situation, all that. uh, that's not really fun to watch on screen necessarily.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's part of why they changed it.
I think that's a great observation, though. Yeah, they absolutely have advanced it. And there's that scene where she's like, it seems like neither of them are wearing clothes, that they're not showing anything, obviously, because it's a trailer, but I think it's in the very first trailer that they released, where it's like, what's going on with them? That's like,
they
what's
they escalated it quickly.
yeah, like, or maybe this is just one of those weird prophecy dreams. You never know, but
True.
one of them might be by Alzamon. We don't know.
Oh man. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was what I noticed. I don't know if you noticed anything else, but
Oh yeah. I mean, I
I
noticed quite a bit,
I
but
know you've noticed quite a bit. If there was anything extreme or pertinent that you wanted to point out.
not really. It's they've done a good job of hyping things. They're releasing stuff on Twitter all the time. They're releasing
Mhm.
stuff. I'm sure that I've missed a few things here and there. I keep trying to do searches, and there's just too many things released now. It's just all crowding my feed, and that's fine. It's just it's difficult. Like, for instance, that there's the Amazon Prime website, and then there's the
Mhm.
Amazon Prime UK, and they release different things.
Yeah, yeah. Even I think one of the videos you sent me was like from Amazon Prime. I want to say it was like Australia.
Oh, weird.
It wasn't UK and it wasn't like the regular Amazon Prime. It was another one. So they're all over the place.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's tough to find it. I know that there's some YouTubers who are finding things. I know that there was one YouTuber who actually was clicking through. He said he spent multiple hours going through like a certain Amazon site to
Mhm.
find ads, and eventually he was able to find two new ads about Wheel of, like, just 15-second ads about Wheel of Time.
Oh
And then
wow.
he did like the video on that, and it wasn't that interesting, those ads. I was like, well, I feel like I feel bad for you for spending all those hours, but like the fact that there's just like some footage that we haven't seen yet, and he was willing to spend some time. I mean, that's cool.
Mhm.
So one thing, actually, what the last thing that I probably want to point out, there's just a little bit of there's one part that talks a little bit, it shows what happened back when Rand was like born, kind of
Mhm.
like they reference this it when Tam was having his fever dream, when he found a baby, just alone or whatever, with a dead mom or something. And so Tam takes the baby home, and that's what Tam alleges, at least that's what he says in the fever dream.
Mhm.
And so he's referencing the Aiel War, though, the blood snow is what they call it. And where the Aiel have come across the dragon wall, and they're just taking it to people. And we'll talk more about that conflict in a while, but the trailers show just a tiny bit, just this little second or two of the Aiel fighting, uh, you know someone fighting people, and we don't know who they are, and everyone's got their theories, even with like 2 seconds worth and barely any clear footage. But it's fun. It's really cool to see. Like, I I'm a huge fan of the IEL. I mean, you have to have picked that up by now. The fact that I kind of pushed all of the IEL stuff for this podcast.
Yeah. Um I'm I'm excited to see them turn those like fever dreams and prophecies and even just like Rand's dreams and like all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to see that develop.
Yeah, yeah. It's his history is actually very interesting. A lot of this stuff comes later, but not too much later. Actually, you'll find out in the next couple books. You'll
Okay.
see. You'll
Oh.
see. As he said condescendingly.
I'm getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, yeah. It's just fun to see. Like, there's certain things that they're going to have to change and do everything. I mean, they can't exclude the IEL, so I'm excited to. It's fun to see their costumes, fun to see them using spears and all of that stuff. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah. All right.
Yay.
Okay. So if that's it, do you want to get into the book?
Yeah. Why don't we talk about the book a little bit?
The book.
Yeah. So spoilers, folks. I mean, up to the point of what chapter will we kind of end on?
Let's see. Let me look at my notes.
So this will be Eye of the World, which is book 1.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start chapter 19, I think. That's where we're going to start. Chapter 18 a little bit, but that's like the Camelin Road bit. Chapter 19 is Shadar Logoth. And then how far do you want to go?
Well, as far as we have time for.
Okay.
I know that was helpful.
That wasn't very helpful, Adam, but
I just said I know that it was, so.
I appreciate you trying.
Your input is valuable to us. We appreciate
you so much.
We appreciate your inputs. Please stay on the line.
Okay, so chapter 19 is pretty much all of Shadar Logoth, and then chapter 20 is them leaving the city.
Ooh.
So we could potentially go, let's say chapter 22 to be safe. We might not get that far, but let's just say that to be safe.
Okay.
We're good with that? Okay. So spoiler. Not really. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a spoiler.
So leading up to this, they were in Barrelon. Moraine does a crazy trick where she grows to be bigger than anything in the world or something. She's like an enormous giant who steps over the wall, and then the race is on. They've got to get out of there because Trollocs are hot on their heels.
Yeah. So they're running all through Camelin Road, which is exactly where we were saying. I was saying Moraine uses her staff, slams it into the ground. All this fun stuff.
Yeah. So this part was really cool. Like the first part with like we have Lan who gets into it with like they just keep getting, there's more and more drums and different tribes, you know, and so Lan and Moraine are like, all right, we have to fight our way through at least one of these. So Lan goes one on, like everyone charges. The Emmons Fielders are all yelling Manetherin, Taishar Manetherin, and Matt's just like spewing his old tongue madness, and no one knows what the hell they're doing. And meanwhile, Lan is just going one-on-one with a Myrddraal, who at this point they've presented Myrddraal as like the pinnacle. Like they move like vipers. They're incredibly scary. And Lan's just like, you know what? Let's go, bud. Like
he's got it under control.
Yeah, like in the land of the eyeless. Like the two-eyed person is king. I don't know. That's a pretty dumb joke, but like they're called the eyeless is what I'm trying to get at. So, you know, because they don't have eyes. And so really bad joke, I realize.
Just move along. Just let it die.
Move along. Just want to bask in the awkwardness of it for a minute. Okay. I'm good. So he I love that part where they're all going to town on all the Trollocs, and the Trollocs are they're trying to keep the boys alive. Like they're trying to just like hook them off of their horses and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated, because otherwise I don't see how the Emmons Fielders come out alive, like all of them in this
right fight. And I mean, it ties into everything that's been happening so far, where they want the boys, right? Like,
right. Well, so. Yeah, it makes sense. And then Lan cuts the head off of one of the Murdril,
Yeah.
and all of the Trollocs just like collapse because they're all linked to the Murdril.
Yeah. Which
It
is,
seems like a really weak link, actually.
it does. It does, now that you like think about it, because realistically, why wouldn't you go after the Murdril then?
Right. Well,
Right?
and they kind of address, like, eventually they like the Trollocs stop being linked to Murdril
Mhm.
every time, because otherwise, like, there's scenes where there's more Murdril, and Aes Sedai could just like use the channel, use the force just to just rip Murdril's heads off and stuff. Like they can do that, and so it's impractical to, you're like, oh, just kill like 10 Murdril and you kill 1,000 Trollocs. Like, I guess we'll do that. So eventually, like, that stops being a thing, but
Right.
for this time it was a cool thing. Like, thank God that happened. Like, it's one of the only reasons it was possible for
Mhm.
them to survive that. But then they're surrounded anyways.
Right.
Like, there's more.
And so the part that here was pretty interesting. I don't, maybe interesting is the wrong word. It was just nice how it was portrayed, was Lan and Moraine having this conversation afterwards of where to go. And it was very obvious that they were disagreeing with each other. And um, they have to find shelter somewhere and get away from the Trollocs and all the spade that's chasing them. Which is so cool. And like looking back at it, that probably should have been like the beacon warning me that danger was coming. But it wasn't. So
Hmm.
yeah. Then we head into Shadar Logoth.
Yeah. To what was it? Moraine's protests or Lan's?
It
Which one?
was Moraine's protests.
Yeah, and Lan is like, I don't want to do this either.
Yeah,
But
but we gotta go.
I think you point a really cool thing. I have always really enjoyed Lan and Moraine's like kind of business relationship of,
Mm-hmm.
whereas it's Aes Sedai and Warder, and Aes Sedai are just kind of implied as the more powerful, like the dominant one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Moraine would be so foolish not to use all of Lan's ability to the utmost. Like, he's a very capable person in his own right,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun to see their dynamic.
Yeah, and like in this specific scenario, she doesn't want to do it. She thinks it's a bad idea. She's protesting it, and yet we do it anyway. Like she's not putting her foot down and calling the shots because she's the Aes Sedai. She's listening to him. So
Yeah, which, I mean, that if you're used to just always being right kind of thing, and
mhm.
you hold the power, like, it shows a mark of personal strength to be able to just like deny self and listen to someone else and
Right.
their expertise, especially when your life is on the line.
Yeah. Take that feedback and then do the best course. So
Right, which it's not entirely clear that it is the best course, though. So that they go in and
right.
immediately they're like, okay, so we're kind of safe here. It's this
Maybe.
big, it's this big empty city, and everyone's gawking. The all the Emmons Fielders. I think they're like, geez, they're all like immediately embarrassed that they think Bear Lawn is actually a big town.
Right. Yeah. And they're just it was, you're right, pretty clear they weren't totally safe. Because I mean, they did say that the Trollocs wouldn't enter the city until I believe nightfall, maybe, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, yeah, they were thought that they actually said they didn't think that the Trollocs would enter at all
Mm-hmm.
because of the past, and so of course the Emmond Fielder boys are just like, let's go explore.
Right? Let's go. Let's go do dumb things.
Yeah, what were your thoughts? Like, they're just like venturing out, obviously kind of just ignoring Moraine. They kind of justify it in their mind. They're like, oh, she said it was safe, like we can go, even
Mm-hmm.
though they all kind of know that they don't want to. Yeah, I think that they're just trying to push away. Like, Moraine's dominated them for so long. They just
Mm-hmm.
want a little bit of self-control. They want to assert a little control.
I feel like if you had just been in the situation where they were in, and you had, these Trollocs chasing you, and you're literally running for your life, you would not want to go and explore and do anything. I feel like you would need a breather, just take a minute, relax, gather your thoughts, try and, discombobulate yourself and go on. But I think it's in part that they thought they were in a safe spot and the Trollocs weren't going to come in, so you can go and explore. And then also, like, this is not what you do. Like, I feel like that's just what you do in general. You just go and explore and do dumb things as a teenager, and you don't listen. And that is definitely what happened. And I didn't really pick up on the fact that they were doing this as a bad thing. Like, I was reading, I'm like, yeah, you would go explore. That's what I would do. I would go look around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, if you know that there's not going to be any merge roll or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because we have the luxury of reading it and seeing it from an outside perspective. I think, I mean, if I could like read everything leading up to it and then make a decision on if I was going to go exploring, my guess is that I would just stay put. I would just try to get some sleep or something.
Right.
But
which they did not do.
Yeah, it's more exciting if they go out there. I mean,
yeah.
I'm personally glad that they went out and explored.
I mean, it makes for an interesting story.
Well, actually, go ahead.
I was gonna say this, when they went out and explored, and we'll get into it a little bit later on, but this led to a part where the very first part when I was listening to the book, that I audibly gasped and said, "Oh no." So I'm also happy they went out and explored, because clearly I was really into it.
So what did you gasp and oh no about?
When they met Mordeth.
But they don't know that he's Mordeth.
No, but he's introduced himself. And he introduces himself as Mordeth eventually.
Oh, does he? He
does.
Calls himself Mordeth. Okay.
He does, because I remember gasping at this and also saying, "Oh no," because his name is literally Mordeth. Like, yeah, let's follow this guy whose name is Mordeth into a dark room, or like where no one knows where we are. What are you even thinking?
Yeah, it doesn't seem wise.
No, it doesn't seem wise at all. So he doesn't introduce himself right away. But when he did, that was when I was like, oh no, this is not gonna be good.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, actually. And yeah, so he's like, "Hey, I'm a treasure hunter, and I need help carrying out all this treasure." And the thing that I was thinking was, because you don't know about him, you don't know for sure what he is, who he is. And my thought was, so how is there still treasure in this place? If it's as easy as just walking in and grabbing some treasure, why haven't some people ventured in? Like, it's been thousands of years since its decline. Like, why is there still treasure here? Right. And that was my skeptical thinking of, why are these boys, why are they just trusting this guy and that they're gonna like go down to this really dark, gloomy place? It's like a horror movie where you're like, why would you go upstairs? Why don't you call someone? Why don't you any number of wise things? And they're just like, like just gonna follow more death right all around.
Right. And it's funny that you point that out too, because he even tells them like that whatever he can't take, they can take with him, because by the time he comes back, it'll be gone. So it's kind of like, well, then why isn't it gone already?
Yeah.
Because he makes it sound like he comes there multiple times. If he's coming there multiple times, then you wouldn't just give that away.
It's true.
I don't know.
No, you're right. you're right. Like he's gonna come back and get more treasure. Like why would he? So obviously he's a sketchy character, and the
Mhm.
boys, I think that he goes out of his way, Robert Jordan goes out of his way to make sure everyone understands just how incredibly naive all of these kids who are
Yeah.
isolated from the two rivers, just how isolated and how naive and foolish they are.
Yeah. It was very eye-opening and also just frustrating for me. Like as a listener slash reader, it was just a frustrating experience all around. It was great. It was, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but I was so frustrated. So
Well, yeah,
yeah.
and you just wonder like what's going to happen here. And I'll say this: this is the start of one of the most, I don't know. There's a very strange arc that arises from this
Mhm.
over the course of the entire series. I won't say more, but like it's all the way to the very end that I I have I am just very curious to see if they choose to pursue that arc, because in a lot of ways it feels like they wouldn't need to, and that people who have read the book series before probably understand what I'm talking about, just in terms of Mordeth and what transpires long term in the series.
Mhm.
It's I I don't really know if it's necessary. Maybe it is. I'm going through the series again, and I'm really paying special attention to that. But for right now, this is the start of a really super long arc that's kind of paid attention to sporadically throughout the series. And yeah, the end result though here is Matt gets a dagger. Like the Mordeth gets
Yeah.
scared off, and Matt is like, "Hey, I got this dagger." I guess
Matt
you don't find out about it till a little bit though.
Matt is fixated on the fact that there's treasure here. Like well, not even when Mordith, when Rand is like, "Hey, you don't have a shadow." Like that's when they realize something weird is going
Yep.
on, and Mordith does, which I thought this was also very interesting. He makes himself so big, he's like as big as the room, and like you know, um, kind of like crouching in on them and cowering over them and what taking up all of the space. And I thought that was interesting because Moraine just went really big, super, super big, and just walked on over the city walls from Berlin. Um, so I thought
Ooh, that's
that
a fun.
was a
That's a
little,
fun link. Nice one.
little, little interesting thing. But yeah, and he's just absolutely enlarges himself and then all of a sudden shrinks again and is cowering in a corner and disappears through the wall, shrieking to them that they're all dead, like you're all dead. um and even
Creepy.
at that point, Matt is still fixated on the fact that there is treasure, and the boys are like, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta get out of here. And he's like, they have to literally drag him away from the treasure. He's so fixated on this, and he takes that dagger. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised when I found out he had it, because he was so fixated.
Yeah, that's true. I think, yeah, it's not necessarily that surprising, I guess.
Mhm.
It, yeah, I have to think. I don't know. We watch these characters, do all these things, and this is kind of in keeping with Matt in a lot of ways. Like Matt Matt is just fixated on the treasure, and he doesn't want to do like, he's just like this trickster is
Mhm.
what I always think of with Matt is, like he just wants to do his own thing and just, you know, he's got to set up that way in the rest of the book. Like even at the very start, like he's a prankster. He's gonna go have the badger chase the girls on the green or whatever, and so now he's taking on this like kind of greedy cast as well, which is a little bit off-putting, to be honest.
Yeah, it was yeah, so it I mean, It's weird for me because you don't really see a lot of Matt before this. Like he's there, obviously, but he's more in the background. At least for me, he felt more in the background. And this scene, he really stole it. Like I was paying attention to what Matt was doing.
Mm.
He just really jumped up there. So
Yeah. Oh, well, and so he grabs that dagger, and they mention it actually that he grabs something or get like, but you don't necessarily notice it. You kind of forget about it, and so they're running away, and like right when they get back is when they discover, like, so Moraine's like, WTF, like why would you do this? She gives him a solid scolding, slap on the wrist. Like, don't pull this crap. And then what? Trollocs started coming in. What happens? There's a catalyst that occurs at this point.
So they do talk about them meeting Mordeth first. And she does explain to them like what would have happened if they had helped them, which is, if I'm understanding it correctly and remembering it correctly, she basically was saying he would have led them to the edge of the city because he most likely would have said his horse and cart were outside the city walls, which he can't leave. And once they got there, he would have it almost sounded like, I might be misunderstanding this, so please correct me. It almost sounded like he would possess the body of the person, and they would be now, like, their soul, quote unquote, would be now stuck in the city, and he would get to walk out of the city and just like go out into the world and wreak havoc everywhere. Am I understanding that correctly?
So I don't know that. I think that, and I could be wrong here. My understanding was that their soul, that they're themselves, they would just be dead. Like they'd just be gone. He would just possess their body, and they'd have nowhere to go, and they'd be dead.
Right. Okay.
That could be wrong, of course, but that's kind of the vibe that I got from it.
So Moraine gives them this like quote unquote scolding, which really wasn't a scolding. And she seems satisfied to know that they have all somewhat told her the truth, that they did not take anything or do anything for him. And then the Trollocs show up, and they're all shocked that they have come into the city, and they just start literally just running through all of the city alleyways and everything, and that's how the group ends up getting separated.
And that's basically what happens.
It's I'm blanking on the name. There's like that mist that comes in to the city.
Oh yeah, let's see.
I'm blanking on the name. I might have wrote it down actually. Because Moraine,
Shadar.
That's the one, because she talks to them about it.
Well, is it Shadar or is it?
That sounds right.
Well, because later in their ways, they also encounter something that's something like that. There's the black wind, and there's the
no, it is Master. She says it's the evil of Shadar Logoth. That's right. And that if they touch it, so if they go into this mist or the mist catches up with them, they'll die.
Okay.
So they are now running. They're all running, trying to get away from this mist, but also trying to get away from the Trollocs.
Nice. Oh yeah. So this is the first really frantic part. So yeah, we have the Mashadar, they have the Trollocs, and the Emmons Fielders are all panicked because Moraine and Lan aren't available to like assist in any way because they get separated through Mashadar.
Right. And she basically tells them to just follow a star in the sky. Like just follow that star and it will take them to whichever city it was that they were going to next. And then her and Lan disappear. They're gone, and they're all frantic. And I mean, I feel like I would be frantic too if you have these two people who are kind of like your guardians, quote unquote, just leave you to
Mhm.
fend for yourself and be like, don't touch the mist, you'll die.
Yeah.
Run.
Oh yeah, I think that this is one of the most intense parts, especially because they're finally put in a position. It's I mean it's almost too contrived in some ways, but this is the first time that our heroes are put in a position where they have to face this evil without their guardians.
Right.
Kind of like they have to problem solve on their own, and they don't really come out that well. Like they they like they Rand is like, okay, I guess I'll do this, and everyone's like, I guess we'll just follow him because we don't have any other good ideas. And Rand doesn't necessarily make great decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
but they're all sticking behind him, which they probably should. And eventually, it leads to the whole group just fragmenting. Just
Yeah. Yeah. So now you have it eventually leads to Rand, Matt, and Tom
mhm,
breaking off.
yep,
Um, Perrin and Egwene,
yep,
and Nynaeve's off on her own.
yeah.
So
And then
they,
Moraine and Lan, yep.
yeah, yeah. So they've all split.
Right, which is exciting in a lot of ways, because so they go through all their heroics and their trials, and excuse me, they go through all of this stuff, and uh, you know it's a period of growth for all of them to some degree or other. But the thing that was most exciting to me was we finally got another perspective, because through this entire
Mm-hmm.
time all the way to this point, it's all been a focus on Rand. What's Rand doing? What's he thinking? What are his priorities?
Mm-hmm.
And now we get to see what other characters are doing.
Yeah.
So we get to see what Perrin does. And actually the audiobook took me for surprise, because it's always jarring, because this is several hours in, like well over 10 hours in, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
you hear a female narrator, because
Yeah.
all the females are narrated by the female narrator. And so it's like, whoa, what, like that, it's just jarring. It's not that she's bad or anything, it's just
It was jarring. I remember being like, oh, okay.
yeah.
And then I remember going back to the male narrator and I was like, that's it? We're going back? Okay. Um,
Right.
yeah,
It's
so
kind of
it's
fun though.
because I think it's Nynaeve that gives us the first
Yes.
female point of view once they're separated. So
Right, and that's something we're going to actually track, folks, is how uh, I just want to see how many point of view characters there are. There's probably someone else who's tracking that, but that's something I'm very interested in,
mm-hmm.
and seeing how it expands throughout the series.
Yep. Yeah. So I have to add her to the list before I forget.
Oh yeah, she's coming up. So I don't know. I feel like, so that they escape Shadar Logoth,
Mm-hmm.
and they're in disarray. They don't know where they're supposed to go. Matt and Rand get on a ship with Tom.
Yeah.
Perrin and Egwene make their way across a river. Who knows what Lan and Moraine are doing? And yeah, that's basically where they leave us.
Yeah. They're just all
And
separated.
maybe that's where we should leave everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the natural conclusion
Natural
of today.
end. And then we can get into their little side story, or I don't want to call them side stories. I think they're pretty important, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could talk about the fragmentation of the party next time.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would love to know who you think the most annoying character is here. I have a most annoying character as well.
So I think the most annoying character is actually Matt. He's the most annoying in this segment.
He is, I agree with you, the most annoying. I was ready to scream at him.
Yeah, me too. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
yeah.
you just survived this crazy fight against these Trollocs, and you just want to go explore and like basically ignore what Moraine has told you. All the warnings, just in one ear, out the next.
I got frustrated with him when he wouldn't leave after Mordeth like had his like, you know, I'm big, I'm small, whatever, screaming about them being dead. All the lights start going out. It's super creepy. And he will like they have to drag him out of there. And I was like, you idiot. Like, let's go. Get on your legs, like get on your feet and start running. Like move it. I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated listening to him. So
yeah, I Matt becomes one of my favorite characters, but he becomes one of my favorite characters. He doesn't start as one of my favorite characters.
Right. Which I find intriguing because I'm already like, this guy, dude, get your life together, my dude.
Yeah. What would you say you do here? Yeah, it is super frustrating to experience. I totally get that. I just you know, and yeah, he's frustrating for me as well. Actually, just yeah, I don't want to have to deal with him, but yeah. I mean, there's certain points of like, I guess I could understand some of like he's got the stories in his head, right? Like he's thinking of in terms of like all the books that they've seen and or you know that they've read and stuff in the past, and thinking like, oh, I could be a hero. I could, you know, I'm going to come back to my hometown you know, as rich and successful, and everyone's going to, you know, take me seriously finally. And not that that actually happens, but you know, or maybe it does, but I guess all I'm saying is I can understand a little bit of, you know, why he would do some of that, but it doesn't like endear him to me exactly.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I can follow it. It's still frustrating.
Yeah. He's annoying. He's the most annoying. So far, who was our first choices for most annoying character?
Narg.
No, you don't get Narg.
I think I said Sam Bowie the first time because you didn't let me say Narg.
Oh yeah, Senbu is a terrible choice too, but
well, it was Narg. You just didn't let me have it.
Narg wasn't annoying. He's intriguing.
He's annoying.
Oh my gosh. So, anyways, we've got, and I don't even remember who I said, so it's not like I'm so that much superior to you, but
I feel like you said Egwene.
Oh, so I said Egwene 2 times in a row.
Probably.
That sounds about right.
Should probably double check that.
Yeah. Oh, she's not. She doesn't endear herself to me either. But yeah, so we should track that though. We should see how many characters, like what the final tally is of.
Okay.
Who's the overall most annoying character in each book?
Okay, we can track this.
Feel like that would be good. Narg is not, just spoiler alert, guys. Narg is not really in contention for this.
I feel so attacked. Yeah. So I think that's it. I think that's all we have.
Okay. Well, it's been fun.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for the movie or the show, whatever it is.
The show. You keep calling it a movie.
I don't know why. I know it's a show. I'd prefer it to be a show. In fact, I don't want it to be a movie. So
it's fine.
I feel so attacked.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't feel like you are sorry, but that's another matter. So anyways, yeah, I think it's time to close it out. And well, let me look at the calendar. So let's see. Man, it's next week that it's released.
Yeah, like a week and a couple of days.
Yeah. Whew. Man, that is exciting. I don't know. I might have to stay up and just watch it when it's released.
Do we know if they're releasing it at like midnight Eastern or midnight Pacific time?
I'm sure someone knows. I personally do not. I mean, I
Maybe
think that the kind of standard thing is to release it at midnight on,
the
you know,
West.
West Coast or East Coast. Yeah, some one of those.
Hmm.
Probably
Well,
West Coast.
sad.
Yeah, that'll be late for you.
Yeah, but it's fine.
It's
We'll
fine.
figure it out.
All right. So guys, thanks for hanging out with us. It's been fun. It's hopefully these Emmond fielders get the hay out of their hair and actually start learning something, because them bumpkining it up as much as they are can be a little frustrating.
Not
And
cool.
yeah, like just get with the program, guys. But I guess we'll see what that happens next time. Probably not. And yeah, see you next week.
All right. That's it. We'll see you next week. May you always find water and shade.